Good evening, friends. The internet. Hi, guys. It's Marianne Goldweber, spiritual teacher, professional medium, owner of a Village Personal and Spiritual Development Center, coming to you live tonight for my video podcast called Marianne's House. And right now, because of the weather, we're on Marianne's porch, which I love. So grab your cuppa and your notebook. And tonight's topic is about the new moon and about getting back in the flow. This has been the ongoing message all week from the ancestors, is how separate we are from the divine flow, which is reciprocal, that is constantly moving, constantly flowing, and how this, dysfunction and chaos in our human world has us very distracted. But the universe is trying to help us. Well, hi, Katie. Thanks for joining me. So I'll acknowledge you guys as we go along. So I just want to thank you for joining me tonight. The weather here in Cleveland, Ohio, is very stormy, weird today. With it being the new moon, that's a reset, guys. It's a monthly reset that we get. What it does is it kind of pushes us into stillness, so that we can feel things. It reveals truth. And so when we sit still, this is why a lot of people don't sit still, is because when you sit still, you think, and when you think, you feel, and then things just kind of bubble up. Okay, today's the day for that. In fact, the new moon has a 3-day window. So between yesterday, today, and tomorrow, you're going to feel the effects of that. So if you're feeling some kind of way, this happens every 28 days. You'd think we wouldn't be surprised anymore, but we are. So grab your cup and notebook and let's sit a spell. Okay? So today is the actual new moon. We also have a meteor shower tonight, which sadly I'm not going to be able to see from Cleveland because it's so overcast today, unless it does some drastic clearing up between now and 1 o'clock in the morning. We probably won't see it here, but again, there's so many interesting astrological aspects, but the moon is all about pulling the tides, the water, so the water in our body, and so the moon represents our emotional side. Even in our astrology chart, the moon represents your emotional side. So that's what we're experiencing today, especially. So when truths are revealed and sitting still is a good thing because, again, our body is holding on to things. And so when we give ourselves grace and permission to just sit with what we're feeling, just allowing it to bubble up, I write it down. Honestly, I write down what I'm feeling. And sometimes it's directed at a situation, or sometimes it's about something that happened. And so I sit and reflect on the last 28 days, and then I look at kind of how did I do, what was that about? What did I learn about myself? What did I really observe about others, which is about me too? And then I write down the things that I'm still feeling or working through, and I take those outside as a ritual giveaway, a letting go of that, and gratitude, so we want to be thankful for these truths because we can't change it if we can't acknowledge it. And so we're cleaning out our emotional closet once a month. Now, if you've never done this before, it's wonderful. So I actually have a group that's been meeting for 25 years. It's called A Village Moon Lodge, and we've been getting together to celebrate this new moon together as a group, and we talk about the teaching that there's a teaching, we follow a book called The 13 Original Clan Mothers by Jamie Sams. And it offers us a different teaching and truth every month. So every moon is different. Every moon has a different focus. So if you want to look that up on Facebook, I have a group called A Village Moon Lodge. And you have to be my friend in order to join, okay? Because we vet everything because it's very private, some of the things that we share sometimes, whether it's in the Moon Lodge or on the page. So if you get a chance to go there and do that. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on right now. Nothing can really stay hidden. We also have these two really interesting 2 or 3 retrogrades going on right now. Pluto, I think Neptune and Saturn, which is the taskmaster, okay? So this is a wonderful time to say, I am feeling this. I'm grateful for the lessons that come from that, and now it's time for me to release it or let it go, because I'm better for it, okay? So that's the gratitude. Even if I had a situation, sitting and getting to know ourselves allows us to really enter that divine flow, because all this stuff that's going on in this human world was created by humans. The universe didn't do this. The universe, we come from this divine place where we're divine beings having a human experience, but humans have created the separation and the dysfunction. And what we're doing is, when we get back into that divine flow, then we can see new ways, new opportunities, ways to move through this, to bring healing, to bring connection, to heal those divisions, whether it's in ourselves or with others or out here in the bigger world in general. So imagine if we all just got accountable to our side of the road and started moving forward deliberately in directions that have integrity, and we're aligning with the right things, and that we're willing to learn and change. That's half the battle. So when you start trusting that inner guidance that comes to you that says, the ideas that pop in your head, all of those things, write that down. This is the perfect time for the universe. Once you get your emotions out of the way, then they can inspire you with some new ideas. So if I went through something and I felt some kind of way about it, and I say, okay, well, I learned this about myself. I learned about, and asking myself, why did I do this? And what can I do differently next time? Or how could I have done it differently? And that's sitting with yourself. That's a beautiful thing. We don't always have other people who are able to, bear witness to that. So, and I take the lessons and I let the rest go. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for truth, because we can't change it what we can't acknowledge. And I know that, a lot of things are going on right now but this, guys, has been going on forever, okay, generationally. And so this isn't new. It's just that most people have been unaware of what we've allowed to happen in our world. And now that we're waking up, it's kind of like when you find out you've been deceived. Okay, now I know I've been deceived. I deceived myself. I've been in situations where people deceived me. But again, I was naive, and I might have not, been ignorant about some things, and so, when we go through and work through that, then that makes me smarter and better for it. And so even if it was difficult or painful, I need to feel that, and I need to process that, and I need to say thank you for that, okay, because the universe showed me something that I needed to know. And so again, guys, truth is powerful, and we're getting a lot of truths going on right now, and people are seriously they're educating themselves. They're getting more self-reliant. They're not depending on these systems that have kept us separate and dependent, okay? So this is why when I say the less you need, the more you have. Because the less dependent you are, the more autonomy, the more self-reliance that you have, then we're not dependent on some of these things anymore. So again, this is the time of reflection. So that's what's going on today and tomorrow. So don't be surprised if you're feeling some kind of way. So take some space and sit with it. The other side is comforting us while we're doing that, So that's what I kind of wanted to talk to you about tonight. So every month, we get it every 28 days, and for my girlies out there, that's the day that the universe strips you of all your illusions, and you get to see pretty clearly what's really going on. And again, guys, how have we allowed this? It's about ownership. I can only own my side of the road, and I can only change my side of the road. And when I go and do the right action, then the right things start happening. I get in alignment with better people, better situations, better things. And when you do that, the same thing happens. It reveals, manifests. That's what the word manifest means, reveals new ways and new opportunities. So this is where we're learning from it, and we're becoming better for it. And now we're going to head out into the new direction, getting into the flow of the universe. So what is that? To me, having faith, or knowing that what you send out is returned. I know that everything is connected to each other. And all of these human things have taught us to be separate from ourselves. We don't trust and talk to ourselves. We don't listen to what we're feeling. We don't, listen to others. We have been isolated because of some of this division, because if we got together, we'd be powerful, and then they'd be out of work, so fear is limiting, most of fear is really an illusion. And again, when we know that and we can just start coming together and moving through that, amazing things will happen. I promise. So we all have to get accountable, though. Get accountable to ourselves and get accountable to the fact that I am responsible for being part of a bigger community. It takes all of us to contribute. In fact, I wrote about that the other day. It's about the universe is reciprocal, but humans are not. We withhold quite often. We hoard, or we're, I wrote about it, I think it was 2 days ago, I wrote about it, the whole thing. And if you go back and read that, it was pretty powerful because, this separation is something that we've been taught. And imagine if we were unconditionally just reciprocal. Could you imagine? Most people give with an expectation of it being returned, but when we just do the right thing, it just automatically comes back to you in another way, in another form. So anyway, so the new moon, we've got 3 planets retrograde, and each one of them holds a different truth, okay? So Neptune is always about spirituality, and there is a great awakening going on right now. And spirituality is about remembering that we're divine beings, and we're here in this human world because we're on a mission. It's just secret from you and me. So it's divulged to us as we go. The experiences in your life are bringing you to all the things that you need to do. And, we're all on a secret mission. So anyway, let's see who's here tonight. Well, hey, Deanna. Hi, Katie. So good to see you. Oh, my goodness. Hey, Jennifer. Oh, I swear, guys, this scrolling thing's crazy. It's good to see you. So there's so much spiritual information coming from the other side. Our ancestors and relatives are watching us down here like running with scissors. Hey, Nancy. Good to see you. Thanks for joining me. Hold on. Nancy, there's a lady here like Mother. She's got a thing about her hair. So I don't know if she had a thing about her hair. I don't know what that means. But she's like going like that, like she used to get her hair did anyway. Guys, we're all ignorant down here. We have to remain teachable. I learn something new all the time. Okay. I'm always learning new things or trying to get up to date on technology. I'm, very cautious about the information that I look at. I was a researcher. Okay. So, I'm always about digging down to the origins of things, okay? And, and so we have to remain teachable, and we have to remain, curious. If you don't know, look it up, find out, okay? Don't trust what people just tell you. This is why I'm not here to tell you what spiritual path to be on. I'm here to tell you how it works so that you can find what works for you, what connects you to that God of your understanding. Whether that's organized religion or whatever, it doesn't matter, okay? Because, I'm a spiritual being that's here to be human. And again, I want to align with the things that are going to help bring this world together. That's the mission for me. So, so no matter what job you do, we're all doing God's work, okay? We're all little bright lights out here, and trust me, bright lights get attention, guys, okay? And the more we expose the dark, it can't exist if we don't feed it, if we don't give it energy or power or whatever it's looking for, okay? So again, it's kind of like tug of war. You let go of the rope and the game's over, So how are we contributing, okay? And that's where we want to get independent as we can, and start supporting things that are bringing people together and making us all sustainable, all thrive. That's the things that I look for in my life. So I hope to encourage you guys. Again, guys, how much useless crap do you need to buy? Okay? I can't even tell you the last time I bought a tchotchke anything. It's been years and years and years, like really. You know, in fact, I'm in the process of really letting go of a lot of things. You know, and again, how much do we need? You know, how much do you really need? And so, you know, this is what we're all doing. We're all looking at how have I been contributing to this? And I'm not going to be a contributor anymore. You know, I mean, again, we've become dependent on it, and it's put a lot of small businesses and, you know, local farms and things like that out of business on purpose so that we can't, so that they make more money off you. You know, that's this human world's fucked up, okay? But we can unfuck it, I promise. You know, if we stop contributing. We're feeding the thing that's hurting us. Okay, so how are we doing that, and how can we stop doing that? That's what I want you to sit with and think about. You know, your life is should be about peace, and if something isn't bringing you peace, or if something isn't, you know, being productive in your life, then why are we doing it? You know, now if you guys want a one-on-one session, now's the time. This is a great time because it'll get you back on the road. You know, I always say it's like the yin and yang, you know, the light and the dark. They exist together. And we're so out of balance. You know, so I'm not a fan of that word. So if you think about the line in between the yin and yang, that it's not a tightrope. It's actually like a bike trail, you know? And we're either, you know, we're meandering back and forth. But sometimes we're off in the weeds on the dark side. Or, you know, we can't just spiritually bypass this human stuff either, guys. I have faith, but that doesn't mean that I don't do something about it out here in the human world. I can't go, oh, God's going to take care of that. Oh, the universe is going to no. You know, if enough of us start being physical representation of the things that we profess to believe, you know, which for me is love, connection, support, you know, that's empowerment. That's what I can do. You know, that's what I bring to the table. So ask yourself, what kind of world do I want to see, and what can I do to help? You know, that's all. It's pretty simple. And again, stop feeding the monster, okay? Oh my goodness. That's what it is. Anyway, so let's get back to Nancy. So now that our ancestors, Nancy, are on the other side, okay, they're not the human being you remember. Okay, guys, imagine if you were running around down here with scissors and you get to the other side and you get to see things from a way bigger perspective, like how you did, who you affected, how ignorant you were about some things. Okay, this is why they call it the light. It turns on the light to your whole existence. Now, guys, we can start reflecting on this stuff before we get to the other side, because once you're there, it's too late. They can't change it. And she's just really sorry she made you keep all that stuff, okay? Again, guys, do your kids a favor. You know, it's not about getting rid of it. It's about releasing what we don't need anymore so that it can serve someone else. You know, so how much, you can't even get rid of some stuff, guys, honestly. You know, there's too much. The gluttony is amazing. Like, homeless shelters can't take all this stuff. You know, I know we want our stuff to go directly to people to use. Okay, the best way to do that is find those local organizations that are doing outreach, okay? But some of these places can't. So this is why going to Salvation Army, you know, in some of those places, that's the best way to do that. Or, like I said, you know, sell it yourself and donate the money. I mean, whatever it takes, you know, but there's so much stuff. There's just so much stuff. And nobody wants your tchotchke. Have an estate sale. You can do that while you're alive, you know. Anyway, so Nancy, she's sorry she left you with a lot to figure out, okay? And so she's trying to help you. And again, you know, they love us. She loves you, Nancy. And she was very happy to know that pets go there, that she got to see pets. Okay, so I don't know if she had a dog or a cat or whatever. But guys, everything goes to the other side, you know? We get to reunite with all of our ancestors and pets and the people that you thought were in hell. I mean, okay, we all get to see each other again, and we're all evolved, okay, or hopefully evolved. We get evolved. You can't run away from your truth once you're over there. So this is why it's easier to be willing to do it here. Okay, I've we've all done things we're not proud of. We've all done things in our ignorance. But the thing is learning from it and not doing it again. That's all. It's that simple. Okay? And stop beating yourself up. We've all made mistakes. All we can do is make amends or say you're sorry or promise to do better next time and learn from that. You know? That's how we learn from these things. So anyway, so schedule some time. Have a party. Okay, guys, this is really powerful. Because when we're in that room together, we all get to hear the messages. Okay? It's so encouraging to be with your friends and your loved ones, because it's not you saying it, it's me and the universe. Okay? I'll say the same thing you would. Okay? The universe talks to everybody in that room. Okay? So your ancestors are talking, and I'm telling them the same thing you said last week. Okay? Or you'd love to say. Okay? I can get away with it because they don't know me. You know? And that's what they came for. They paid for this. Okay? So they're coming willingly. Okay? They're asking. And so I'm obligated to share the truth that the universe provides. And guys, we're a lot of fun to watch. So have an event. Now's the time to do that. If you have any questions, just call me. 216-324-2657. So this is a time of truth, and God knows there's a lot of truths being revealed. And again, guys, this isn't new. Okay? It's been going on the whole time. But now it's affecting more people. Okay? It was different when it was only affecting certain people. But now that everyone's feeling the effects of being apathetic, okay, and not knowing, not being conscious of how things work. I mean, guys, I know people that are on a crash course of learning about a lot of things they never knew before. You know, so we have to get responsible for ourselves and our knowledge and our autonomy, you know, and we've got to be able to come together and advocate for ourselves and advocate for each other, okay? I do advocacy. And you know, I had a client one time she was coming out of a very abusive thing, and she needed to sign up for social services. Well, she was so down and so beat down that every time she opened her mouth, she'd cry, okay? So she had to go down to, you know, Children and Family Services to ask for food stamps or whatever, you know, services, Medicaid or whatever. And the poor thing was just sitting there. And this woman, who's supposed to be a social worker, okay, that worked there, was so dismissive and so, oh my, I just sat there, you know, just holding the energy for her while she did what she had to do for herself. We got her down there. She, you know, she was applying for the right thing. She had all her paperwork. And this woman was so, you could feel the judgment. It was awful. And so I said, ma'am, can I see you over here for a second? Okay. And I said, look, I don't know if you've ever been in this situation. I said, but the way you're treating her is just so callous. And, you know, it took a lot for her to get in here. She's done a lot of courageous things. And if you don't change your attitude, I'm going to report you. I said, so when we go back in there, I want you to be helpful. Okay? That's what an advocate does. I've been in that chair. I've been beat down. I've been, you know, without, okay, with my kids standing with me, okay? And I have to tell you, it's the most humbling thing you could ever experience. And I know a lot of you can attest. So again, how do we advocate for each other? How do we defend each other, okay? And it doesn't have to be confrontational. It's just a fact, okay? And again, I'll go over your head. I have no trouble doing that. I used to do that for a living. Go over your head. Okay, so been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. So we can advocate, because I do have a voice now. There was a day when I didn't have a voice, okay, and it was awful, and I was so beat down, you know. And if it wasn't for the kindness and love of my sister and some other folks that helped me through that time, you wouldn't believe it. You know, I fed my kid before I fed myself. You know, I had to decide on food for him or laundry detergent. That's what we had to, you know, I've been down there. It's awful, you know. And so again, we can do this for each other. And so we can do that when you hear people saying things. If it's direct, if somebody's having a conversation with me, I share a different perspective than most people, okay? I share a perspective a lot of people don't even know there's a window, okay? And so if they, spout off something that might not be accurate or ignorant, I'll say, well, what I've learned in my lifetime is this is how it goes. I'm sharing my perspective, okay? I'm not telling you you're wrong, but I'm just telling you that because of my life and my experiences, this is what I know to be true, okay? And that doesn't mean, I'm going to agree with you, okay? So that's it. And when you're confident, guys, that energy is very different, okay? That energy is very different because I've been in my bag, I've been through it all, and I know who I am, and I know who I am, and I'm still constantly working on myself. This is never over. There's always something to learn. There's always something, new perspective. And again, that's what we're doing is we're learning to listen and understand before, we want to be understood. So anyway, hey, Deanna, so what's up for you? Oh, so guys, okay, Deanna, this is for you. Okay, your house isn't haunted, but guys, our ancestors come and go in our house. And if you have animals, they see that, okay? And so animals and little kids perceive things that you can't, okay? And it looks weird when your dog or cat is like, okay? And it's either energy or your ancestors, okay? So don't freak out. Nothing can get in your house without your ancestors. They're like your home security system, okay? And so animals see that, and it looks weird from the outside. Them seeing, if you guys could see what I see, I see things, see in my mind's eye, but I see it, and I'll see things peripherally, and sometimes you'll even see me on this live going and looking over at something, okay, because I know there's a lot of things going on in here that you can't see. I wish I had, it was like this misty thing that would show up to show you kind of what really goes on while I'm sitting here by myself, okay, talking to you. So anyway, so just so you know, Deanna, your house isn't haunted. But guys, sometimes we got to let go of old energy. The new moon is a great time to smudge your house. This is a wonderful time to open all the windows, to light sage, to walk clockwise through your whole house and just say, this is my house, and everything else has to go. Everything that happened from today backwards, it's thank you, but you got to go. It's got to go. And it's not a thing or people. It's just energy. Because we're constantly evolving. So it's like walking around in, shoes that don't fit anymore. So when we let go of that energy, it makes space for new experiences, new things to come in. So yeah, some people confuse haunting with just residual energy. It builds up, especially when you live in an apartment. That happens a lot. But if you've lived in a house for a long time, we want to keep, opening it up maybe once a month. I do it on the new moon. So tomorrow I'll probably smudge my house because it's been a crazy month. So anyway, so I'm just glad to see you guys. I'm so grateful for you. So just, contact me on my website, MaryAnnGoldweber.com. Schedule an event. I'm also going to be doing some, I do a lot of workshops out or just speaking gigs out in industries, okay? So, helping people see things from this different perspective because, guys, service work is hard. We all are serving somebody in whatever kind of work we do. But I like to talk to specifically people who serve others, okay? Because there's so much need out in the world, you've got to take care of yourself. And most people just don't know how to do that. So I do a whole workshop on that. It's called Another Window, okay? It's all about self-care and service and what we're dealing with here and how important it is that, we are helping others and advocating or standing in those energies, but it's exhaustive, and so we need to learn how to be able to detach from it while we're listening and assessing, so whether you're in medical, mental health, some service industry, hospitals, elder care, all of it, teachers, we're going back to school. And so we want to, there's one of you and 20 of them, okay? So we got to teach how to wear your asbestos panties so that you can navigate all those energies in a day. That's a lot, okay? I navigate some crazy energies myself. anyway, I'm so grateful for you guys. So if you have any questions, just give me a call. It's easiest to just call me or text my phone number, 216-324-2657. And if you want to watch these other video podcasts, just go to my YouTube channel, and all the topics are on there. And so you can always watch me anytime you want, you know? You don't have to just wait for the live. But I'm just really grateful for you guys for following me. And if, you know, and here's another fun fact. So if you buy gift certificates and you just want to donate them, okay, to me, because what I do is I keep track of those. So when somebody calls me and for a situation that they don't pay for that, okay, and so I will take one of your gift certificates out of the hopper for those people who, or when I do a grief thing, I'll give them a gift certificate so they can come back. You know, and that way they can do that when they're ready. And so I'm grateful when you guys donate, whether that's on my Venmo or Zelle. Just let me know if you want the gift certificate to give to someone else, or if you want to just donate that for someone in need. So I'm grateful for all your support all these years. And it takes a village. It really does. You know, sometimes I'm the plucky comic relief. You know, but we're going to be out there in the world more, and I would love to see you guys. So join us for Serenity Sunday or my Moon Lodge, and I'll be doing more events out in the world too. So thanks so much for joining me, and I hope you guys have a really wonderful evening. So let's go burn something that we're done with. You know, I'm done with holding regrets or resentments. You know, I'm letting go of that because it's made me better. You know, our experiences, guys, are really designed to make us better, not bitter. Okay, you know, I was mad at a lot of people for doing it to me, and honestly, I invited them. I said, hey, this sounds like a good idea. Okay, I was ignorant about some things. And then, you know, and then they treat me like I didn't expect, okay? But again, hindsight's always 20/20. And that's why we sit with these things and learn from them, okay? All my experiences have made me better, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for every single bit of it, and so I love you guys. Hey, Karen, I can't wait to see you tomorrow. I mean Friday, guys. I thought it was Thursday all day. I'm telling you, I'm always weird in the new moon. Oh, anyway, you guys rock. So again, when you come, you get to meet cool people like Deanna and Karen and all these other wonderful folks that have been part of my village for a very long time. And I'm telling you guys, when you come to these events, if I have a public event or one of these events like the Moon Lodge, there is a lot of wisdom in that room. Okay, a wisdom is applied knowledge. Okay, it's not from reading it in a book. It's from walking it, learning it, sometimes walking it, sometimes crawling it. Okay, but there's a lot of wisdom in these rooms. And again, you know, we're here to support each other. And it does take a village. It really does. And so I'm grateful for mine. So thanks for following me. Thank you for supporting me all of these years. And if you feel so inspired, I'd love to connect. So give me a call, and I'd love to schedule some time. Thanks so much. Keep the peace. Peace takes effort, guys. You know, it means not subscribing to nonsense. If it disrupts your peace, you can't hide from it. You got to set boundaries to it. Okay? And sometimes I'm the thing that invites it. Okay? So you got to say, what is it about me that keeps doing that? Okay? Anyway, self-reflection is a lot. It's a lot. But again, you know, the truth reveals great things. But the truth can be initially very painful. So in our world, we're trying to heal these divides. We're trying to create peace, which means getting rid of the things that are bringing chaos. Okay? And so I love you, and if there's anything I can do, please let me know. But yeah, let's keep the peace, pray for our world. And I'm glad that you're in mine. Thanks so much.